Hi everyone, Rod Armando, immigration and personal injury attorney, just getting out of an AOS interview, marriage based, and everything went smoothly. It's always helpful to have a common sense attorney. So basically, we showed up about here in San Bernardino, USCIS office in California. We showed up about 20 minutes before, and we got through security. Everything's pretty smooth here. You go upstairs to the second floor at this office and you check in. Basically, you just have the applicant that's applying for the green card they will file, basically, they will take a photograph and a fingerprint, they'll check you in. And then we were very fortunate because they got called in basically within 5-10 minutes of being checked in. Usually sometimes it can be 5-10 minutes if you're lucky, but sometimes you could be waiting to 45, an hour, even sometimes longer. I've waited up to an hour and a half before. And the interview went very quickly and smoothly too, which can be like something as quick as 30 minutes, which is what happened for this client, or it can be basically an hour and a half. But the officer had a lot of experience, so the officer just basically highlighted the most common things that are asked. So, and the applicant needed an interpreter, so we had an interpreter there available. The interpreter was more nervous than the applicant, but basically she was able to accomplish that. The officer helped by simplifying some of those yes or no questions that can be complicated and have very kind of bigger words. So if somebody's not an experienced interpreter and they're just fluent in these two languages that are being interviewed and interpreted, then they will basically sometimes stumble over those words, bigger words. So the officer helped with that. And then the officer basically started out by going over the I-130 petition. He didn't ask the applicant any questions. The petitioner spoke English, so he didn't need an interpreter, and everything went smoothly with that. Basically just highlighted the biographic information and for the I-130 petition. Name, address, have you used other names, and that was it. The applicants basically had submitted a lot of good photographs, and they brought new bona fide marriage documents with them that the officer wanted to see, and it was showed to them. And that basically the officer didn't say that it was approved, but indicated, which is what's happening now. Basically 9 out of the 10 interviews that I've been to in the last few weeks, the officers are basically sending people home with a piece of paper saying that their decision's pending. But typically all those, basically all the 9 out of 10 have gotten an approval within a day or two, usually by the end of that day. It's just that these officers are going through about 6 to 8 interviews a day now, and so they just want to get through the interview and then they'll make the decision later. They want to sometimes run background checks, and sometimes they want to, beyond doing a background check, they just want to go over the paperwork, make sure they're not missing any documents. There's not like a signature missing on the medical exam, for example, or there's not an updated tax document. So right now, we're in June. And so a lot of the applicants who are getting called in, they have outdated taxes. So they should, because they filed the 2024 taxes by now, they should bring that and submit that. So fortunately, our clients had brought that and they submitted that to the officer. So I don't foresee any requests for evidence being issued, but that's a possibility always after these interviews when they do the review. If there is something missing, they'll issue a request for evidence, and then that will delay the approval process or the decision-making process even further. So it's really important that you go to the interview with all the necessary documents. So obviously your attorney should be advising you on that, reviewing everything that was already submitted, and then taking with you anything new that should be taken to the interview to submit to the officer at the day of the interview, so that there isn't any further delay in the adjudication and approval of the application. But besides that, basically the applicant was obviously understandably a little bit disappointed, but I had to tell her, hey, look, 9 out of 10 out of the out of the last 10 interviews in the last few weeks have been taking going home and it's taking a day or two after. They get disappointed when they don't get an approval. I had one lucky client who the officer just approved on the spot, and that worked out. But that's what's happening, folks. Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to give you guys an update. Again, thankful always to have an experienced officer that, uses a common sense approach and doesn't go over every single little thing and, just make it an unnecessarily long interview, because a lot of these things have already been, well, actually basically everything almost has been already filled out in a form, and you've already signed it, so affirming that it's true and complete. For the if there are any changes at the interview, they'll be made. For this applicant in particular, there was no changes. So that's the update I have for now, guys. If you guys need any help, reach out to me, rodarmandalaw.com. Take care and have a nice day.